Thanks for visiting Buffzone.com. My name is Kyle Ringo. I'm the CU beat writer for the Daily Camera newspaper. With me, as always, is veteran Daily Camera sports columnist Neill Woelk.
And I'm Mr. Optimist for the Buffaloes. I think the Buffaloes are going to go down and play well at Georgia this week. I think they're going to get a much better game out of Bernard Jackson than they have in his first two starts. Kyle, what are your thoughts on that?
Neill, I don't think this is completely a quarterback issue. I think you have a complete lack of playmaking ability at the wide receiver position. I think you're only just now getting Hugh Charles, the tailback, back into the fold. He spent much of this fall with an injury problem, and he spent much of last season with the same injury problem. His ankles are bad. You have an offensive line that's still trying to figure out how to block everything in this system correctly. And I think it's completely unfair to put this all on the quarterback's shoulders. Bernard Jackson is going into his third start. He is going through a lot of growing pains here. He has a lot to learn. There's a lot of room for improvement, but I don't think you can put this all on Bernard's shoulders.
Oh, definitely, Kyle. This is not Bernard Jackson's. This is not the problem of Bernard Jackson alone. This is an offense, like you said. The wide receivers are struggling to get open. The wide receivers are struggling to catch the ball. You have an offensive line that has a completely different blocking scheme this year. Last year, for the last 3 or 4 years, they've been blocking a West Coast offense where they had to contain, hold, and that was it. They didn't have any secondary responsibilities. They didn't have to block into the second level. They never had to pick up linebackers. They never had to look into the secondary at all. All they had to do was hold on the line. They're learning a new system, and what's interesting right now is that their two mainstays that were supposed to be the best guys up front are struggling. Mark Fenton and Brian Daniels are struggling up front. They're having some problems blocking up there. They're having some problems adapting to the new system, and that's spreading along the whole offensive line. You're right, Hugh Charles, who is a playmaker, he showed some signs last week against Arizona State of picking it up and starting to become the guy that they need back there to break open that big play once in a while. But they are struggling. Bernard Jackson is still having trouble reading defenses, but I think he's getting better. He's improving. He's a freshman in all respects other than the classes he attends. He's a freshman. He's going to get better. I don't think they need another quarterback change. I think they need to be patient with this, and I do think that the offense slowly is going to improve. I think you saw it last week, and I think it's going to continue, but I don't think people can expect things to happen overnight. I don't believe that they should bring Cody Hawkins in yet.
You mentioned Cody Hawkins. Cody Hawkins is a true freshman. His experience comes from playing, I believe, 3A football in Boise, Idaho. Yet there are a lot of people out there who seem to believe that this guy has a cape and could fly into Folsom Field today and fix everything that's wrong with the Buff offense. Why is that not true?
Kyle, it's the same reason that people believe that Jay Cutler can fly in and save everything that's going on with the Denver Broncos. I mean, the Broncos and the Buffs right now, their offenses are really similar. They're having problems at wide receiver, their running game is struggling a little bit, and their offensive line isn't playing as well as they thought. And it's the same thing. People want that magic bullet, and they think that quarterback is always the magic bullet. I think Cody Hawkins has a lot of potential. I love watching him in practice, but no, he's not the kid that's going to come in and save this team. They have to get everything else up to speed. There are a lot of problems everywhere throughout this team. The defense is playing well, but it's not playing as well as it can. Once they get everything up to speed, once everybody else is playing better, I think you're going to see the offense play better, and I think you're going to see Bernard Jackson play better. He made some mistakes last week, but he also made some plays.
You know, on Sunday afternoons, the team comes in, and the guys who played in the game the day before will go off and do some running and just some conditioning work and get their legs back under them, while the younger guys are off on another field scrimmaging against each other. And obviously Cody Hawkins is involved in that scrimmage, and he's out there, and you don't see him out there tearing up the scout team defense. You see him out there making his fair share of good plays, but you also see him out there making his fair share of mistakes. So I think you're totally dead on when you say that Cody Hawkins wouldn't be the magic pill that would fix this offense.
No, there is. There's no magic potion that's going to fix this offense. There's no snap of a fingers that's going to say, okay, we're going to get better tomorrow because we're bringing in this guy. I go back to Jay Cutler. Jay Cutler is a great quarterback. Jay Cutler won 7 games in 2 years at Vanderbilt because he didn't have a lot of talent around him. I think this team has some talent. It's learning a new system. It's going to get better. I think that the wide receivers are gradually going to get better. They're going to fit into it. They're going to start feeling themselves. The tight ends are starting to work into it. They're going to feel more comfortable. The offensive line is going to get a little bit better, but it's going to take time. This is not going to be an overnight process. We've seen what happened. They played better against Arizona State, even though they only scored 3 points. You can't have Bernard Jackson fumbling on the goal line. You've got to have Hugh Charles putting his head down and heading toward the end zone rather than trying to juke somebody on the 3-yard line. When those things start to happen, it's going to get better.
Isn't the #1 area where CU needs to get better offensively, isn't it at wide receiver?
Oh,
I mean, they've had problems at wide receiver now for 2-3 years, ever since that trio of NFL receivers left to play professionally. I mean, you had DJ Hackett, Derek McCoy, and Jeremy Bloom all on the field for the first year of Joel Klatt being the starting quarterback. And obviously Joel Klatt looks superhuman that season.
Yeah, you don't have the deep threat right now. You don't have anybody that's scaring a defense and getting them back on their heels. You can't throw over anybody's head right now. There's nobody evidently with enough speed to get deep. You'd hope that Blake Mackey was going to come in and do that. Blake's had some problems for whatever reasons. He's not filling that role. Again, it's going to take some time, but I do think Jackson is starting to feel a little bit better. They're expanding the package for him. It's going to get better, but it's going to take time. This is not, you don't bring in a new offense, you don't bring in a new head coach without a ton of talent and turn this thing around overnight. This program had been slipping for the last few years. I don't care what anybody says. Whenever you get beat 70-3, that shows the program has been slipping. I think it's going to get better, but it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take some patience. And Hawk, for his word, Hawk is not a patient man. I mean, I think he's as frustrated as anybody else. But I do think this is going to get better.
Basketball season can't get here soon enough, can it?
Oh, yes, it can. When we start talking about basketball season, we'll be talking about frustration again.
Okay.
Thanks for joining us on Buffzone. We appreciate it.